just straighten this up, people. So, we live or not? Let me just share that. Just sharing this, then I'll just get started straight away. Right post. I'm just sharing it to my main page. Almost done. All right, come on. So is that? All right, people. All right. Wa alaikum assalam. Alaikum assalam. I apologize. Is this? Let's see. It's appearing blurry to me. I take it that's better. All right. HD. It's got to be HD, people. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. All right. إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم أهلا وسهلا وخوش آمدید و bienvenidos و بخیر راغله and swagatam, people, swagatam. Right. So, howdy, hola, all the way from Amani, hola, ¿cómo estás? Alaikum assalam. You know, the hair, you know what, I get so fed up not being able to make it to the, to the hairdressers, people. I just can't do it, it's my timing, I'm so, I actually tried to, suggestively brainwash my hairdresser into becoming a 24-hour. I tried to sell him the idea. I said, you know, I think you're going to proper take off. It's going to be the thing. Trust me. You are going to be the future. Really also doing that plan just so he can really accommodate for me. Right. All right, people. Shout outs from... Look at that, different shout-outs coming. Screen not frozen here. Well, that's... Está bien, Carlos. Alaikum assalam. All right, Abdo. Kaif, Khoya, Kaif al-Umur. Right, Alaikum assalam. Become a smurf. What's a smurf? I don't know what a smurf is. Sohail, Malji, you need beats. Oh, you need beats, as in Dr. Dre beats, but make it third generation, please. Can you make it the third generation one? Anything below that, I'm not going to take them. Right, so also to mix up my drink, I've had one of my mojito. All right, salam, brother. All right, Ahmed, كيف الحال? I have got a hat, a beanie kind of thing right here, but what the hell? It's all right. Speaking of Beats and earphones, well, I'm trying out these right now, the Sony X1002. They need to seriously work on their names. I mean, that is such a dumb, pathetic kind of name that they've given the earphones. But these are their noise cancellation ones, people. So instead of the Bowers and Wilkins, I'm checking these out now. So pretty good, good noise cancellation. But, you know, I can't seem to get something. Why is it? For earphones so expensive, yeah. that they can't come up with the goddamn simple technology to be able to toggle between, right, to be able to toggle between devices. So to be able to do that, and you think that's not a complicated thing, but they can't. Bows can do it, but the others. Anyway, let's move on, people. Let's move on. All right, so how are we doing? All right, people. The hammer. All right. The hammer's in the house. Zed is in the house. Look at this. Right, so what are we looking at? Whilst people are tuning in, the rest of you already know the drill, people. You know the drill. You're veterans now. You click like. You click share. You get this out there, people. Let the games begin. Let the fitan and fasad begin. All right. Let me mix this up. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So I apologize for the delay. Today was delayed. Look at that. Actually, he's getting out of order now. It's kind of like I need to bloody... Well, anyway. And so... I was trying to do a YouTube live as well today for people who are not on Facebook but are on YouTube. And for God's sake, it drove me insane. And in the end, I couldn't get it done. So next week it is, next week. Right. Meanwhile, are you going to event? Are you going to event? Is that code, Irfan? Are we on a special code here? I gonna event. All right, people, that's what I'm talking about. Do you have a YouTube channel? I do have a YouTube channel. It's Mufti Abu Layth, Al-Maliki. So, well, that was a difficult one, wasn't it? So, people, don't be drink alcohol, brother. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? Wale, Afghanistan, nankrahar. Wale, che. You see, I could listen to you, but but as they say, you know, this is I've read somewhere. They say alcohol because nothing interesting ever began with a fruit salad. This is not alcohol. Relax. Hold your horses. Or is it? Not. Kasme. So, I only do the alcohol on the days I can't find the cocaine. I'm joking. Or am I? So, let's see what we're looking at. Well, there was a huge event that went down. Ustadh Nouman Ali Khan is in the UK. People, alright. He's in the UK touring around. He was in Birmingham. That was an... Mu'adh is in the house. Ahlan wa sahlan. Right, so... Yeah, and Birmingham was a huge success, and London was a huge success from what I hear. Birmingham, I was there. It was an amazing event, fully sold out. Great kind of gathering, ambience, the feng shui, people, the feng shui. It had a great kind of feel. We got to chill out afterwards, so that was awesome. As always, discussions. You know, I shared a little snippet of some of my discussions. Right, so, and people were saying, well, you know, could you share more events, more kind of private discussions and stuff like this? And the problem is that it's difficult because, you know, me, I'm a controversial guy. This hashtag controversial people problems. You see, I have problems, you know. People for some reason, it beats the hell out of me, but people for some reason don't take a liking to me. I possibly couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why. So, yeah, so this is the thing, you see. But I just gotta be who I gotta be. You know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, you just... So sometimes in these private gatherings, you have to have discussions where you could be saying all sorts, and sometimes you want your views. They're still working theories, and it's got to be a bit of a safe zone. You know, one of those safe environments where you can just, where you can express ideas without being judged, without being, and people are too keen. People are too keen to judge. People are too keen to judge. And so this is the problem. And then, just to be fair, just because a scholar is engaging me on a discussion doesn't mean that he has the same views. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean I have the same views as him. So I think sometimes people, and I know, you know, it's not fair for my guests, if I get guests, to kind of engage them in a discussion and then kind of open them up to my kind of heat of hate that people sometimes, they love hate that they send my way. So it would just be unfair, really. It would be unfair. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, people. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, So that's the reason I can't, obviously, it wouldn't really be right. That said, it was interesting because even when I was with Ustadh Nouman, he was actually given some hate mail. So he was reading it with me in the car. So it's interesting, like people hand over kind of mail, and it's amazing, you know, like with sincerity, you know, with khulus. Oh, Assalamu alaikum, ya akhi. One of those ones where people are like, so they're like, you know, brother, you know, for the sake of Allah, you need to repent. You need to seek forgiveness from Allah. You know, you have committed blasphemy. You have done God knows what he, you know, he's allegedly done. And it wasn't to do with the other kind of issues that he's had. It was to do with things like allegedly he's misguided from a Islamic perspective, and he's blasphemed and stuff like this. So they want him to kind of do tawbah and make apologies and public statements of, I have blasphemed and therefore I return to the faith. Allah. I don't know what world people live in. Honestly, what world do people live in? This is, it's surprising, you know, the way they, and their letters are written with such sincerity. Allah. That's the truth, man. That's the truth. What's that? There's a poem of Ahmed Faraz. I mean, there's there's quite a few. I had actually come across some very interesting ones in light of these, where it said there was this poet. I hadn't really read about him before. His name's Tabish, right? So an Urdu poet, and he said, "Hum hain wo tuti, hum hain wo tuti hui kashtiyon wale Tabish," that we are like those, you know, those kind of boatmen with these kind of broken boats, jo kinaron ko milate hue mar jate, that who try, that whilst trying to make diverse shores, that these shores that are so apart, whilst trying to bridge them or doing this, their entire lives they die kind of making this connection. And he says that unke bhi qatl ka ilzam hamare sar hai, that yet we have the allegations of those people, of the murder of those people, right, jo hame zahar pilate hue mar jate hain. That those people who are trying to poison us, and whilst poisoning us, they accidentally die. Yet we have to face their allegations. This is the interesting world we live in, but people are so full of hate sometimes, it's interesting. So that was an amazing event, some interesting discussions. People did ask about some of the summaries of the discussions. They're very similar. I mean, I highlighted them on Facebook. You can check that there, inshallah. How can this be funny? Christy Lynn Robinson is asking, how can this be funny? Well, first of all, Christy, that was in Urdu. So I don't think you even understood Urdu. So to start off with, yeah. You're obviously in the wrong place then. So, na'am, let's move on. Right, I'd been sent, whilst people are tuning in, I'd been sent this clip that was doing the rounds of some Shia Imam, and the Shia Imam was, I don't know what his, I think his name is Tawhidi or something. He's an Australian Imam, and he's insulting Sayyidina Umar radiallahu an. And he's openly saying Umar was gay and stuff like this, and I can prove it if anybody, you know, anybody wants, or stuff like this. So a few people had sent that to me saying, can you take a look at it? I did. I think the guy has genuinely lost the plot. I mean, I would advise him to quickly resort to some mut'ah. Right, that's mut'ah is the Shia temporary marriage. But you see, I would advise him that what on earth is he on about? Seriously, he's like he's like acting so confident, like, ah, damn it, I'm so confident, I'll challenge anybody, but it doesn't make any sense. You see, it makes no sense, because you see, what you're going to do is read books that the majority, like 90% of the Muslims, do not accept. So they do not accept them as authentic books. So you're going to read some narrations of some, let's say, alleged Shia of the past making these allegations. But that's obviously seen as, you know, unauthentic. Like, so how does this debate work? I mean, I don't even understand. How does that discussion work? Because nobody accepts, you obviously wouldn't accept Sunni sources, and the Sunni, or maybe you'd accept some Sunni sources, but you wouldn't accept the chains of criticism to be applied. So you might accept some narrations in Tabari, but Tabari transmits from people like Abu Mikhnaf, who are like aggressive Shia, like kind of totally wacko, like totally extremist Shia. Like, so my point is, you wouldn't accept any chains that have been criticized by Sunni scholars, and we obviously wouldn't accept Shia kind of sources. So so the person was just going with so much confidence, God damn it, you know, I'll debate anybody on this, that Umar radiallahu anhu was homosexual. I mean, and then what a kind of, this was his logic, this Imam, the Shia Imam, Tawhidi, his logic. He said he was the first terrorist because ISIS accept him. I mean, this is his logic, that ISIS accept Umar, therefore Umar is the first terrorist, and anybody who endorses Umar must be ISIS. It's like, what the Malfunction. That's like, damn. What are you smoking? Seriously, you need to chill out a little, man. Especially with Shia fiqh is generally, I think it's got a lot of easy fatwa in there. So why are you so tense? I don't get the problem. So this is absurd. This is like saying, this is akin to saying that, oh, ISIS believe in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so anybody who believes in the Prophet Muhammad must be ISIS. That's dumb. That's like, it's, you could take it a step further. You know, ISIS believe in Adam. Anybody who believes in Adam, alayhi salam, the Prophet Adam. It's just absurd. Like, what are you just drawing? Is this equation? How did you arrive? Any commonality must necessitate symmetry. Wow. Now that I said it like that, it just sounds so eloquent. So ISIS like the color blue. Oh, damn. I'm wearing blue. Change that. ISIS like the color black. So anybody who likes the color black must be... What a retard. I mean, and then to be fair, you see, many Shia Imams would condemn this Shia Imam. And many Shia Imams and Ayatollahs have given the rulings and the fatwa that it's haram for Sunni, I mean, Sunnis don't do it anyway, but for Shia, they said it's haram to insult the venerated figures of Islam, of Sunni Islam, which is majority Islam. So, and in light of that, crazy, I thought it almost said tranny, but it says Tani, right? Oh, he sent a poem saying, "Tu shama hai, to yaad rakhna, main bhi hoon parwana, o zalima, o Yeah, that's from a Bollywood song. I thought it was a poem. But in light of that, you see, when people say, in light of that, I've got one for you with Shama and Parwana. Shama is a flame and Parwana is the moth. But in light of that, people like this calling people to challenge them. It's not a problem challenging them. But how would that discussion go anywhere? To engage somebody in dialogue, they got to at least have some brain cells. Even an amoeba, a single cell amoeba, can outsell them. That's the thing. And regarding what somebody just sent the poem, and putting that in light of these challenges, here's a poem that hoon to main parwana, that I may be a moth. He's giving, it's a simile, yaar, it's a metaphor. That hoon to main parwana, magar koi shama to ho, koi raat to ho. There should be at least a flame. There should be nightfall. Jaan dene ko hoon hazir, koi baat to ho. This is the thing. You know, you can take up challenges, but there's got to be some worth in front of you. Kuch to ho, baba. This is just ludicrous kind of... yeah, so that's been going on. But I would say that ignore these things. I would say that these people, like Imam Tawhidi, are not representative of the Shia community. Generally, I think it's important, generally, we don't kind of... we don't alienate certain members of, let's say, the Shia community and stuff like that. We make it clear that we don't tolerate abuse, but we shouldn't kind of be sectarian sectarian driven in any way. And I'm sure, look, like most Muslims, Shia Muslims are the same. They're just like, as in, they're just born in a Shia Muslim family, and they've just been brought up like that. They don't really understand so many things, and they don't know, like a lot of Sunni Muslims don't know what this is all about, actually. So, yeah, but he is not representative of the Shia, just to kind of get that out there. Right, so, okay. Other than that, what else is going down, people? What else is going down? What questions? Look at this. People are just writing the lyrics of one of Shah Rukh Khan's songs. Behave, people, behave. How should a president or leader be selected in a democracy? Right, the thing is, look, as Mohammad has a breathalyzer, be careful, peeps. Why don't, have I missed something? Is this to do with me? Is this because are they trying to, interested in the Maliki madhab? Alright. School of Medina all the way. Right, so let's get back to what there was a question, how should a leader be selected within Islam? A leader within Islam, look, it's very important to understand that in Islam there is no set mechanism about ruling. Islam never came to set up. It was never about power and control or statesmanship or empire or leadership or caliphate. It was never about these things. If it was about these things, then you can be certain the Messenger of Allah would have explained this stuff during his lifetime in great abundance. So the point is that, you see, what Islam says is that yes, if Muslims find themselves in certain situations, they should have a sense of rule as opposed to anarchy. That's what it's saying. How do you select leaders? You could just select them. You could vote them in. You could have a democratic understanding. As Sheikh, and you see different, you see like Abu Bakr radiallahu anh being selected by people. You see as a meritocracy, like they felt he had more merit. You see how he just chose Umar, as in that was just a selective choice. Umar radiallahu anh chose a committee who had to choose amongst themselves. These were different methods. It demonstrated that there was no divine method. And scholars today, like the great Mauritanian scholar Muhammad ibn al-Hassan ad-Dadu, has on YouTube a Q&A where he's speaking about democracy, saying that, look, in our day and age, democracy, as flawed as it may be, is the best possible, best of all options that we as human beings have right now. So that's what we would generally go with. Can you explain the Quran? Well, Jake Halliday, I'm not sure what aspect of the Quran. The Quran is, by Muslims, it is to Muslims the word of God, the book of God, revealed unto the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So that's explained. Right, so can you eat kosher anywhere? Right, yeah, you can eat kosher meat as Muslims. Yes, you can. Right, out of all religions, other than Islam, which would you say is closer to the truth? I don't know if it works like that. I don't know if it works like that, or if it works like that for me. Interestingly enough, I find many, not all, but I find some atheists to be on perhaps to me, the closest of all searches to God. That's a strange statement, but But I do actually find that to be kind of true for me. I find some, maybe not all, but atheists to perhaps, or agnostics, especially atheists, because I think atheists are sometimes more concerned with God than religious people are. And I find some of their search to be very kind of driven by an unsettled, a kind of this kind of blazing fire within them for truth. I don't know, that's my experience. Sheikh, what are your thoughts on Nawaz Sharif? No special I don't have none of those thoughts. Nothing. I don't have सिर्फ नेक ख्यालात रखता हूँ. They're all, especially coming to people like Nawaz Sharif, my thoughts can only be kind of pious. Now I think he's an idiot and corrupt, needs to go. Oh, you know what? Did I comment last week on, I saw a video. I saw this video, somebody sent me this video of this guy speaking about like this really long beard, hard, upon the Salaf. He's not even he's not even practicing in accordance with, he's upon the Salaf. He's on top of them. So it's hard-line person, British, maybe from down south somewhere, presumably London, speaking about how Islam instructs us to look down upon the kuffar. Right, those of you just tuning in, click like, click share, people, get this out there, get it out there. So he's speaking about Islam says you need to look down upon kuffar, and you need to embarrass them, and you need to, so he's saying all these things. And he speaks about food, and he quotes this hadith that وَلَا يَأْكُلُ طَعَامَكَ إِلَّا تَقِي, that let nobody eat your food except a pious person. And so he kind of says, I practice this hadith, and I don't let these people eat my food. And I don't know, he says, I have these non-Muslims working for me. And he addresses some Sikhs racistly, which I thought was utterly unacceptable. Because in these kind of contexts, not only is it unacceptable from a racism perspective, but it's utterly unacceptable that he's doing this under the banner of Islam. So he kind of refers to them as like, you know, tuckans or something, like lids. And I think that's so unacceptable, considering the fact that, one, it's haram to do that anyway, to refer to people of a different religion like that in this kind of context, very clearly forbidden in Islam. Secondly, it's stupid because Muslims cover their head. You know, it doesn't even make any sense. It's like saying the equivalent of raghead. That's what he's saying. But around the world, most of the people that wear turbans are Muslims. So it's just as retarded. This is the kind of level of intellect that we're dealing with. So he says, oh, these people came to me, and I was like, what? You're not getting my food? That only a pious person, wallahi, only let a pious, bruv, only let a person. Sorry, I can't do the full-on London accent. But, right, so he's saying that only let a pious person eat your food. And you think, God, you know, I wanna really describe him, but then people are gonna say, yeah, Mufti can't control his language. But this is the kind of behavior that we have, and nothing. These people, they are like how the Prophet describes that a people will come and they will recite the Quran so much, preoccupy themselves with worship. They will make your worship look like nothing compared to their worship. Yet, they will miss Islam. They will miss the deen. يَمْرُقُونَ مِنَ الدِّينِ. That مُرُوقُ السَّهْمِ مِنَ الرَّمِيَّةِ. That how an arrow misses the prey. That's how they miss the deen. And I'm not saying that they're kafir. I don't believe they're kafir. But it's they miss the true understanding of the deen. That's what it is. They missed it. They are worlds away from it. So, yeah, so you get this kind of stuff. I saw it and I was disgusted, but I thought this is the kind of stuff Britain First, Tommy Robinson and all these kind of Islamophobes love. This is just, these people, I wouldn't be surprised if they support each other. Because they must be having a field day with this kind of stuff. They must love this stuff. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on, people. Let's move on. What are we looking at? What are we looking at? Some questions. What if you don't find a pious person, then tell that Wahhabi to stay hungry? But seriously, man, this person wasn't even like your regular Salafi. He was like a Salafi on steads. He was something else. He was on he was like a super Salafi on speed. This guy, something else, man. An embarrassment to Muslims. Right, so Sheikh, you seen the Chuff magician? I haven't met him in person, although one of my friends does look like him. So I was thinking of setting up an impersonation and pretending that I'm with him. And you might see that soon. So, but I heard there's something about the Chuff, like some kind of he was busted somewhere for something. I'm not exactly sure what. I think like fake miracles and stuff like that. But that's absurd anyway. Everybody knows these kind of miracles don't happen, people. You need to wake up, smell the coffee. Cafe. You need to wake up. These kind of things don't happen, right? So, you know, but superstition. Right, so what's going on? Those of you just tuning in, click like, click share, people. Test your iman. That's what you need to do. That's how you need to test. Give me advice. I'm in Syria. Quick, jump. What are you doing in Syria? Whoa. May Allah bring peace and stability to the land of Sham. Ameen. So what's all this about Thursday Khatam? Well, actually it's Khatam in Urdu. Khatam is like, it actually means to close something, but it's used to mean a kind of ceremony in which some rituals happen, and it's used for certain things like the Khatam of the Quran, the Khatam of different things. And what people do is every Thursday they kind of put out a bit of food and they read certain things and kind of bless it. And they have this kind of belief, which is really, none of this is authentic in Islam. But it's just folklore, superstition. They have this belief that spirits are coming and the spirits of the deceased are visiting them and they will take the food. Which, in all honesty, if I did come back from the dead as a spirit and I turned up and somebody just had like half a glass of milk for me and some, like a little bit of halwa, I would be seriously disappointed. I would be like, you taking the mick, mate? Like, is that how you welcome me? I mean, I just came back from the dead for this stuff. You understand? You understand the level of sacrifice I'm making. You don't appreciate what I've come back from. I've crossed realms, dimensions, goddammit, to get here, and you give me this little bowl of some disgusting ghee-soaked kind of halwa. Like, what? I mean, if I came back from the dead, I want to see the whole works. Okay? I want there to be like a super party going on. I want to say, yeah, that's how you come back from the dead. That's what I'm talking about. Right, so, no, it's all folklore and superstition. And that said, sometimes I think to combat it, you have to use wisdom. So don't kind of go against these things so harsh. I think you've got to maybe educate people, but then you got to take time with people. And some people are set in their ways. I think just let them be. So don't think like you gotta, oh, I gotta change everybody. Why are they doing this? I must condemn it. I must condemn. I'm having a taqwa attack. Don't have one of those taqwa attacks all of a sudden. Like, oh, like if your parents do this, just chill with it. Don't worry. I mean, like, you look, just some things in life you gotta just roll with. Okay, because people they're not going to have that kind of an enlightenment all of a sudden and understand things like superstition and evolution of institutionalized religions and folklore and how, these kind of things don't come easy. So don't worry about it. That's what I'll say. Don't worry about it. So people, click like, click share, get this out there. What do you think about Loki? I don't know about it. I think that's is that a rapper or somebody? I don't know. I don't really listen to much kind of nasheeds or things like that. Right, so, okay, next question, people. Why can't we enter Makkah if we don't have a test of being Muslim? Is it part of politics? I've answered this last week. I did quote and I read from Ibn Ashur in his tafsir that many people do believe you can enter Makkah. Okay, so there's a difference of opinion. Today it's more a political kind of state decision taken by the Saudi state. Right, so Z on the scribe question. Okay, this is it's an interesting question. It's to do with a person known as Abdullah ibn Sa'ad ibn Abi Sarh, or Abdullah ibn Abi Sarh. It's often known as. And he was like a kind of, if you want to use the term, maybe foster brother of Uthman radiallahu an. And he's one of the people who apostated in Islam. And then he said some things about the Prophet as well and about Islam. And he was part of the kind of propaganda thing against Islam. But during the conquest of Makkah, or the liberation of Makkah, he embraces Islam and he comes and apologizes. And the Prophet forgives him. And then he goes on, after the conquest of Makkah, he actually lives a very upright, upstanding kind of life where he is in positions of responsibility. During Uthman's time, he's given positions of leadership. And right till his very death, he's seen as a very kind of a noble character. This thing about him when he apostates, first of all, it's interesting that the Prophet didn't have him executed per se, with all these people, obsessed with apostasy laws. But there is some discussion around him and the Quran, him being a scribe before he apostated. So he used to write down some verses of the Quran. So there are some kind of narrations about him saying that the Quran was more fluid, basically, and that he felt, this is what he's transmitting, that he even changed the Quran whilst with the Prophet. And the Prophet kind of went with his not interpretation, but his wording. These are some narrations which have been highly criticized as unauthentic. But these narrations are there, and it goes into all this kind of discussion. But generally, these narrations are not authentic, okay, generally speaking. that he didn't. So they say that the verses he speaks about is about Allah, about punishing. And this narration says that the Prophet read, and Allah is, Wallah, ends it by saying, Wallahu Ghafur Rahim, is forgiving. And he says that shouldn't it be better as Azizun Hakim, is mighty and wise? And then Allah, and the Prophet says, yeah, do it like that. I mean, that just sounds quite absurd, to be honest with you. So, yeah, so it's not authentic. But the thing about him apostating and joining the Meccan people is true. And yes, he was on a list of those people who were actively at war against Islam. So they would have been, in the conquest of Makkah, perhaps killed if people got hold of them. But he himself came to the Prophet with Uthman, and Uthman says, look, he's sorry for what he's done. And then after that, he continues as a very kind of noble personality. So that's the thing, in essence. That's like a quick kind of overview. Right, so what are we doing? What, Jahan? Alright. Ahlan wa sahlan, people. Ahlan wa sahlan. Those of you just tuning in, right, click like, people, click share, get this out. Right, I've got to speak about Valentine's. Yes, salam, people. Valentine's, it is Valentine's. So that's what I got to... So before I do that, you can click like, get this out there, people. Need you to... Let's spread this this goodness, this topic of Jannah. I'm not into... are people having their private discussions on... right, what's going on, people? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? What's going on? Right, so those of you tuning in, Imam Hassan is in the house. Ahlan wa sahlan, Hassan. Right, that's an awesome Imam from Gloucester, UK. You need to be in touch with if you're not already. So people, get this out there. I'm going to discuss in a moment. I will be discussing Jannah. Eunice, if you're trolling, you are going to get blocked. Okay, so right, so that's just, I've just put that there. If you carry on, you will get blocked. So cool. I'm going to take up Valentine's in a moment. Let's just take 1-2 little questions, and then we'll come to Valentine's. Cha. Right, so people, till then, let's see. There's I was asked a question on, I'm just trying to look at some of these questions on the Tajweed. I was asked a question on Tajweed within Salah. Do you have to recite perfectly within prayer? So this is Ibn Naji, one of the dons of the school of Medina, people, one of the dons. By the way, I saw this meme done by Ifzal, where there was this baby going like this. Not going like that, that's it. This baby, and it said something like Mufti Abu Layth before he, in his early years, before he shook up the world. And it had me in stitches, I gotta say. Even my little daughter is always doing that now. She's like, alright. She does all this, alright. I would have got her to come on here, but she's surprisingly knocked out early. For vampires, it doesn't usually happen, but today it has happened. Right, people, please refrain. Yep, there's the admin is on it. Right, about time, admin. I was thinking, where on earth are you? Right. Yeah, Jannah, if you can please stick to the topic. Otherwise, we're going to have to send your profile to Jannah. Kuch zyada hi jaldi hai. You know, Hajjaj, when somebody tried to interrupt his khutbah, his Jummah khutbah, so he got his guards to kind of like, he goes, this guy's a bit too eager. Just, if you don't mind, if you can send him on to Jannah. He's a bit too eager to meet God. So why not help the guy out? That's what. Hajjaj, huh? What a guy. He's one of those love-hate kind of characters in Islamic history. So, when you're reciting the prayer, do you need to have full tajweed? Right, so there's a difference of opinion in this. They call this lahan, okay, in Arabic, lahan or lahan. Okay, if you have a lahan, right, you make a mistake. And generally, you will get some ulama that say if there's a lahan, it can completely invalidate the prayer. I believe that is one of the main positions of the Shafi'i madhab. Some of the Malikiyah, some of them did go with that, and that included people like, this is Ibn Naji in his commentary of the Risala of Ibn Abi Zayd. He mentions that if a person is a lahan, makes mistakes, then faqila sahiha, salatu sahiha wa aksuhu, and then he says bil awwal in kana fi ghayr al-Fatiha, because Fatiha is what they really stress over, Surah al-Fatiha. And then he mentions the people who say this are people like Abu Bakr ibn al-Labbad, ibn Shabloon, and some of these greatest scholars. Al-Lakhmi says if somebody is a lahan, you should definitely prevent him from leading the prayer. But then Ibn Naji goes on to argue that, look, this doesn't make any sense. He says, وَالْقَوْلُ الثَّالِثَ الَّذِي بِهِ الْفَتْوَى هُوَ عِنْدِي ضَعِيفٌ. He says لأنه لا يخلو إما أن يكون اللحان ممن صار بلحنه متكلما بغير القرآن أم لا. He says, look, either the person reading messed up is changing the meaning of the Quran or is not. وعلى كل حال فلا فرق. And then he goes on to say, and he says, look, that, so he goes on to say that وعجبته بأنه يلزم عليه الصحة مطلقا لأنه إذا قل لحنه في القرآن فقصار أمره على ما ذكرتم أن يكون تاركا لبعض آية وذاك لا يضر والله أعلم. So Ibn Naji, one of the dons of the school of Medina, commenting on the book of Ibn Abi Zayd known as Young Malik, saying, look, if a person makes a mistake in the Quran, at best what you could say is he missed out a portion, but he still read something. I would say, in line with that, look, if you make mistakes whilst reciting, just try to improve, but your salah and stuff is fine, okay, as you heard Ibn Naji say. Right, so if you've had impurity on your hands and you wash your hands in the basin and you get splashes of if you have impurity on your hand, I won't ask how did you arrive at having a impurity on your hand. Natty. Well, sure, by all means, you can wash your hands, and no, you don't need to freak out about the splashback. So, people, what are we looking at? Right, so, come on. I still don't see this getting out there. I want to see, before I go into because a lot of people have been asking about the Valentine, so I want to share that, want to make sure people don't miss it. And so, your Arabic is the most soothing. Allah, shukran. Allah. Let me act all very humble and Allah. You know, in a lot of, in some cultures, when they start acting humble, they'll start kind of degrading themselves. So they'll start saying things like, oh, like they'll say, oh, the poor, the impoverished, the weak, the feeble. They'll say like the despised, the most despised. So in Urdu, you see people write, they don't just, sometimes they write haqir, which is like a despised thing. They go, commonly people say faqir, like a poor, you know, the poor person, like meaning themselves. Sometimes they say haqir, the despised one, haqir, you know, this is from the haqir. And sometimes they use the kind of superlative form of saying like ahqar, the most despised. So Like the most despised has said it. How? What? You'll be like, what? What the hell? That's like the most, they're like the most diseased. Carrying the most viruses. Can you imagine you just get carried away with the... Right, so... Allure. Siatas pragaras curmus. I'm not sure what that is. It seems a bit similar to Spanish, but it's not. Maybe it's Portuguese or something. What do you think about Erdoğan? I think, see, like anybody, I think he's a very strategic kind of Muslim. He's a, leadership personality. I think like anybody, there'll be good and bad. I some positions he takes, which I absolutely rate, and his attitude, at least publicly, towards how to receive refugees, his position on being anti-oppression and stuff like this. At the same time, people could argue, but he's oppressing some of his own people. Maybe how he's dealing with the Kurds is oppression. And I think this is, it's politics, isn't it? Rajniti hai baba, Rajniti. Or as the saying goes, as Amitabh Bachchan Saab Damat Barakatuhum said, he says that he has a dialogue where he says that kisi ko marna qatal hai, like you killed a person, that's murder. Mar kisi ko sahi waqt pe marna, rajniti. He says, but killing somebody at the right precise time, that's politics. So that's my point. So I'm not really, I do like his kind of public persona, but I recognize, like anybody, public persona doesn't have to always be, nobody's going to say, hey, by the way, I'm an absolute beep, beep, beep. Nobody's going to say that. So, yeah. Why is Sihr mentioned in the Quran if it has no reality? Well, Jamil Khan, you're in for a treat because I've got a whole video dedicated to that. So, go and watch it, mi amigo, and let me know, Keith Hodge, that is such a troll name and a profile. Keith Hodge, yet asking all the kind of intricate Islamic questions. Like, did the Ash'aris, did the Mu'tazila, did the Khawarij, who... Keith Hodge? Haji Hodge? So the thing is, look, the question is about the Khawarij. They were an extremist sect. And I think Khawarij as that sect don't exist, but the mindset exists. So the extremist mindset is unfortunately still around, yes. Your Bollywood films from? Where did you get your Bollywood films from? Interesting. Back in the days, we had to go all the way. We had to go on these long walks, my brother and I. Anyway, I won't get into that. So, are groups like ISIS, Taliban, AQ, Al-Qaeda, Khawarij, yes, they're of a Khawarij mentality, some more than others, along the way. It's like a spectrum, if you like. But I'm from a very Muslim neighborhood. Okay, Haji Hodge says so, if you say so. Right, so what else? People, what's... controversies galore, right? So they come favorite scholars from Al-Andalus. There's too many, seriously, all the way to Grasmere. Whoa, who's that? Shahzad Mohammad. Gotta check that up. See, during my childhood, up until the age of 10, I actually lived on that road. So alright, big up Handsworth, represent. So shout out to Oldham. All right. So why are so many UK Muslims named Chowdhury? It's a title, a kind of caste thing. That's what it is. So what are the questions, people? What are the questions? Ahliyat. Look at this. A lot of people have tracked me right down to my childhood. This is like freaky. S&D supermarket. That's brought back some heart. I'm going to go through some trauma now, people. There's going to be like, I'm going to be like, you're going to see the heart beating away. Dil agar seene mein hota to dharakta hota. That's the thing. So, yeah, I remember as a kid having to be sent with this trolley that was almost as big as me. Having to take it. I'm going to need some counseling after this. Right, people, so let's get on to the topic of Valentine's. Yes, you got it, people. It's all about amor. Mi amor. Right, so people, Valentine's Day. Is this halal? Is this haram? What are we feeling today? What are we feeling? So, now, alright. First of all, shall we look at a quick overview of the history of Valentine's? So a quick history is people really, regardless of what they say, are not too sure where Valentine's originates from. They're not too sure. I mean, there's narratives. Amongst the narratives is that this is named after a Christian saint called Saint Valentine's. But the truth is that there were many saints called Valentine. And they don't really know which one they're talking about. Some people say that there was a particular bishop. I'll see if... nope. There was a particular bishop who stood against the tyranny of the Roman Empire that had decreed that no people can't get married because it wanted its soldiers, especially the soldiers, it wanted them to be single men, you know, not just preoccupied with women, which is as absurd as you can imagine. So it probably just had like a bunch of like really desperate men in the army to just unleash them on a neighboring civilization, right? So now Bishop Valentine, according to this one theory, is the guy that would secretly get them married, and then he was kind of persecuted by the empire. And there's a pope by the name of, I think, Gelasius, who comes in the 5th century AD, that kind of says that we should commemorate him by having this day dedicated to love. Allegedly, that's one of the theories. Another theory is this is a pagan kind of festival called Lupercalia, or something to do with having fertility and stuff like this, and people would run around and have like crazy sex everywhere and stuff like this, just so the god of fertility would make the kind of harvest be fertile and stuff like this. I mean, there was this thing called Lupercalia, and some people say that the Christian church kind of turned into Saint Valentine's Day. Nevertheless, I think about 500 years ago, it starts to get its first understanding as being dedicated, a day dedicated to love, and really picks up in the West about 300 years ago. People start like this whole Valentine process of, you know, they love somebody, and it's all about that, having a special day to commemorate that. And I think about within the last 200 years, this whole thing of sending cards to each other has taken off. And from that stage to where we are now, 2018, where it is probably one of the most kind of commercialized dates of the year. One of the most commercialized dates of the year. Because every company, every kind of commercial outlet is on it. And so that's what it is. right, Valentine's. That's a bit of a history. From an Islamic perspective, what do we think? Can you be my Valentine? Yes, no? This is the question. Is this haram? Haram. Haram. People, what should the verdict be? I should get like a voting where we can kind of like vote it in. Yes. So, to anybody who can't do anything for it, just go with it's haram. I'm joking. Right, so, is it haram? Let me... So, the answer, people, is that, you see, to make something haram, you need overwhelmingly strong, conclusive evidence. And as I look, all I see is just a Valentine's card. I don't see this evidence. Where is this evidence? ¿Dónde está? Where is it? So there is no overwhelming conclusive evidence that this is haram. Right? So it is not haram per se. And to say, well, it resembles a pagan festival or it has its roots in pagan festivals is a bit dumb. In 2018, guys, you can't be talking about paganism. It sounds dumb. You sound, I hate to break it to you, but you sound kind of stupid. Or if you are going to talk about it, just don't stand by me when you do it. Can you go stand, can you cross the road and stand on that side? Pagans, heathens. Alright, so you got to stop this because it sounds dumb. Look, somebody's got to tell you. So, okay, I'm just breaking it to you. Don't shoot the messenger. It sounds dumb. To say, well, this is a Christian thing. Oh, Christian. Oh. Look, it's got nothing to do with Christianity as a religion. Whether Saint Valentine did this or not, whatever. It's nothing to do with the religion. However, I've got a caveat here. So I'd like you to... So I don't believe that it's haram from that religious perspective. I don't believe that it's haram. That said, I don't encourage this kind of culture. Huh? Is that just because I would have too many people to have to cater for on Valentine's? No, it's not, right? So, वो बेवफा नहीं यूं ही बदनाम हो गया महसिन. It's not that he was unloyal. He just got a bad reputation. हजारों चाहने वाले थे. किस किस से वफा करता. He had so many people. Who could he be loyal to? This is, look, no, but I actually discourage this culture. You know why? Because I don't think you should be kind of duped into this commercialism like that. I think you should be more intelligent than that. You shouldn't have to face the pressures of society on you. You should live your life as you want to live your life. God damn it. Don't have people tell you. You set a day. If you want to express something, you express it to the person. You dictate the terms. You understand? You dictate the terms. Don't have somebody... Don't have like society say it has to be February the 14th. Oh my God, and everybody... And you see, by doing this, I think they put so much pressure on people. The society kind of creates this massive kind of pressure, this social media pressure of, I gotta have a Valentine's, I gotta be on a date, it's gotta be romantic, it's gotta be... And it's not even about the feel anymore, it's all about the show. So it's not even about kind of like what do I want to feel, or what do I want to experience? It's all about what do I show people. And if you don't have a date or a Valentine's, you become depressed. People become depressed. And I can see how that happens, because if you're surrounded in a world, especially the younger people, God, I must see, like now when I have to say younger people, I'm like Budiage, you know, how we've aged in this on this journey of ours. But the thing is, look, when you know these people who are immersed, this Instagram society, like I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, but these things to me are not like how it is for some millennials and some younger people, maybe late teens, early 20s. These kind of people, their social media, they live. That is they breathe that. I mean, for me, this stuff is good. I like it. It helps me reach out to people. We connect. But it's not, you know, it's not about, like, I don't take pictures of my food and put it on there and have to always compete with people and stuff like that. To me, it doesn't, you know, we're not from, I don't know about other people, but I would assume we're not from that generation. But I can see how people would get depressed. They would be like, damn, I've got nobody to show. And then if they have, they've got to show it perfect. We've got to be in a top restaurant. We've got to be on holiday. We've got to show the world. Show the world, show the world, show the world. You know, all this kind of stuff depresses people. So I would say, look, I don't encourage this kind of, because I think it's unhealthy. And I don't think you need to go buy things just because people, I think by all means, I'm like, I buy whatever. I'm a bit gullible like that. But I say buy it because you want to buy it. Don't buy things because they're dictated onto you. You know, people say you got to do this. Oh, okay, because of society. You choose a day and do whatever the hell you want, but don't have to feel pressured. That's my point. Because I think all those people that are loners on the day, all of you that are alone, well, if you can contact, send a message to, not, this is how scandals are created. Right, so this is my point. So I'm against all of that, people. I'm against all of that. So I'm not against it because it's haram from a religious perspective. I'm against it because it produces, I think it really messes with people's psyche, this kind of stuff. I think the pressure is so unhealthy. I think people are really, you know, like, when I look on social media, you know, when you're you're kind of like going through social media, stalking the hell out of everybody. You're just bored sitting there. Oh, what's this? I see the amount of pressure out there. I think, damn, thank God I'm not a part of that. So, anyway, so that's my point. Have the courage to be yourself. That's what I'm saying, people. You you know when you're like, what's this profile? No, you know, when you're bored and you're like, well, let's just stalk the hell out of Facebook and Instagram, and you see what people are up to, and you think, bloody hell, like, I'm totally not a part of this world. I must just be like a total, and I could see how that would. I think the TV series Black Mirror is onto something. Seriously, it's onto something. It gives a lot of these scenarios. Right, so let's take some other questions, people. What are we looking at? Well, I was asked a question about hijab. Why is it not until you accidentally click like? Yeah, perhaps. Or yeah, you know, like when you fall asleep and the app's still open on and it's in your hand, and you wake up and you think, God damn, what have I been pressing? Let me just check. Don't tell me I've shared some in the kind of heart attack that you have as you wake up. You've fallen asleep with your phone in your hand, and you're like this, and you wake up and you think, oh God damn, have I shared something? You think, uh-oh, here goes another kind of whole, this is going to be one whole new level of scandal. Ah, well, nah, I'm only kidding. Not. So, right, I was asked a question about hijab. That why is it that men stop talking rubbish? That's by, stop talking rubbish, comma. Okay, I'm more intrigued with the 2 commas followed by the 2 full stops. That's like really intriguing. Stop talking rubbish. You stop it. You rubbish. This one not nice. This one, you know. This 2 commas, too tragic. You know, just 1 comma, please. So let's. Right. So I was asked about the hijab. Why do men not have to have a hijab? Why do men not have to have a hijab? That's an interesting question, people. Your thoughts? I don't think, seriously, this is my way of looking at things. By the way, I've been told that my understanding of masculinity is now what people call toxic masculinity. See, my circle of friends and my maybe, I don't know if it's the whole generation, but maybe, but see, we understand like men should be men. You know, the newer people kind of feel men should be like, they should be, you know, men, but like, oh, I'm in touch with my softer side. I go to sleep with the teddy bear kind of thing. So so I don't know. But anyway, coming back to this point, I think that men and women don't view each other in the same way. And this is probably, people are going to be like, but I genuinely don't think they do, to be fair. I think men are just, men are like, you see, it's not that women don't appreciate, let's say, beauty or good looks in a man, or I'm sure they do. I'm sure women do as well think, oh, he's nice, he's nice, he's nice. I'm sure they do think that. I'm sure it's creature, like, okay, it's maybe not creature to think, but to react, I think. So it's human to definitely be like that. So I'm not, but you see, men don't think like, oh, he's nice. Oh, oh, sorry. Right, that would be definitely really weird. Freudian slip. Okay, not he's nice, but they don't think like, oh, she's nice. That's like at a tea party. Men are like on famine mode. That's not what they're thinking. Trust me, they're not thinking nice. That word doesn't even enter that vocabulary range. It doesn't even. So men's minds are just sick. It's a curse, people. I'm telling you. It's like, God damn. This is like. So this is what. So this is what it's like now. So I think that's why the hijab thing, and this is, I mean, so I'm just being real. I'm not trying to do over the whole male species. Don't worry, guys. I'm obviously in this with you. So, but I'm just being real. I don't think women are like mentally kind of on some kind of famine mode. I don't think they generally are, but I think men generally are like that. I don't know about the newer generation. I think they must still be, but I think generally across the world, men are. So that's why there's hijab. And even with hijab, it still doesn't matter. They're like, oh, they'll have like X-ray vision, and it's like the blind spot. The imagination just fills it in. How the Lord has gifted us with imagination, I tell you. It's a strange gift. Ya Allah. So this is why the hijab, I think it's not the same. Okay. So men are great. No. Yeah, I'm not saying this to diss men or to say dissing women or anything. I think obviously men, women, everybody's awesome in their own way. But obviously, think about it. If women were like that, you know, I had a conversation once, like as a thought experiment. I said to some mates that, like, we're having a discussion, and that imagine women were like that. I think men would just freak out. Which sounds crazy, because you think that's what you think that would be a fantasy, but I think people would just freak out. You'd start getting men saying things like, you know, I'm not just a piece of meat, you know. I think, seriously, I think men, you know, if the world was like that, be like, oh, she doesn't even appreciate me for my mind. It's interesting. So I think that's why hijab was more for women as opposed to for men. Because I think and then it's interesting that it's kind of generally been a very patriarchal society. All those people, they know I'm telling the truth. Come on, you know I'm telling the difference. I'm just saying what the group is thinking. That's all. I'm just coming out with it. That's all. Right, so I'm just saying what you all are thinking. That's all. I read this, there's this poem that mumkin nahi hai mujhse ye tarz-e munafaqat. That this style of hypocrisy is something that I'm incapable of. Dunya, dunya, tere mizaj ke bande nahi hai hum. That the world, oh world, we're not your kind of, I'm not your kind of guy. That I can't do this hypocrisy. That you gotta just keep it real. That's what it is. So, this is why I think the hijab thing, and I think people would agree with me in essence. Cool? Let's take, on that note, there was another question. There was a question about women being imams. Women being imams and leading men in prayer. And I thought, you know, I'd rather read to you guys from the Don, Ibn Rushd. Right, Ibn Rushd, Averroes people from Muslim Spain. The philosopher, there's two Ibn Rushds. Two. Huh? I don't think this is a swear anymore now. I don't think in the UK it used to be a swear. I think nowadays you don't really get anybody going like that anymore. I think that's like 70s, 80s. Nowadays I think it's just peace, peace, peace. I don't think the new generation use that, so I think it's okay to go like that. I think so. And if not, right, okay, behave people, behave. Right, so Ibn Rushd, there's two Ibn Rushds. The grandfather and the grandson. Now you're probably thinking, well, there must have been a father in between. Well, duh, of course there was. Otherwise, you got some sick imagination, right? So, of course there was a father involved. But the grandfather and the grandson are known as Ibn Rushd, the famous Ibn Rushds. So, he writes in his book, Bidayat al-Mujtahid, the beginning, the genesis, the beginning of a Mujtahid people. And he was a legend from Muslim Spain. You're talking around over 800 years ago. So he says, look, اختلفوا في إمامة المرأة. Okay, and they disagreed about a woman being an imam. And he goes on to say that, look, ala annahu la yajuz an ta'ummur rijal, that she cannot lead men in prayer. واختلفوا في إمامتها النساء, and they disagreed, can she lead women? And he mentions that Shafi'i allows that, and Imam Malik popularly doesn't, but in other opinions he does. So there's a difference of opinion from Malik. And then he says وَشَذَّ, and there was a rare kind of understanding from Abu Thawr and At-Tabari, فَأَجَازَ إِمَامَتَهَا عَلَى الْإِطْلَاقِ. So they said women can lead men in prayer. So that's Abu Thawr and At-Tabari, and I believe Muzani, the Shafi'i scholar, was in line with that as well. He says those people who said they couldn't use a hadith, أَخِّرُوهُنَّ حَيْثُ أَخَّرَهُنَّ اللَّهُ. That's a raw. That is not an authentic hadith, people. Okay, behave. But to be fair to him, he's saying they use this. He's not saying I use this, saying they use this. And that keep them at the back where Allah kept them. That's just raw. That's a misrepresentation of Islam. Right? Because that is not an authentic hadith. That is a weak hadith. Da'if, people, da'if. So he says, and then he says, مَعَ أَنَّهُ أَيْضًا, it's been transmitted from some of the first generation through a hadith that they went with what was transmitted in Abu Dawood from the hadith of Waraqa, that أَنَّ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ كَانَ يَزُورُهَا فِي بَيْتِهَا وَجَعَلَ لَهَا مُؤَذِّنًا يُؤَذِّنُ لَهَا, and that the Prophet used to visit this woman called Waraqa. This is in Abu Dawood and in Hakim. And he placed for her a mu'adhin, وَأَمَرَهَا أَن تَأُمَّ أَهْلَ دَارِهَا, and she would lead this man and her family folk, including the men, in prayer. So it's interesting. And when it comes to reasoning, what's interesting is when it comes to reasoning, he says, you see, وَإِنَّمَا اتَّفَقَ الْجَمْهُورِ عَلَى مَنْعِهَا, the majority of the people went with that she could not lead men, لِأَنَّهُ لَوْ كَانَ جَائِزًا, if it was permissible, لَنُقِلَ ذَلِكَ عَنِ الصَّدْرِ الْأَوَّلِ. You see, it's interesting because he's saying that for their evidence, what they used was the fact that if this was permissible, surely the first people would have transmitted it en masse. So they're using the lack of something to demonstrate its impermissibility. Now, my understanding would be that women do not lead men in prayer, generally speaking. Although if they did lead a man in prayer, would the salah be valid? I believe that the salah would be valid based on the ikhtilaf, based on the difference of opinion, and the fact that there is a hadith, although it's got some criticism, that the Prophet appointed a woman to lead her household men in prayer. And the fact that there is nothing in the Quran and Sunnah that clearly teaches it would be invalid. I'm speaking about the validity. That said, I don't believe women generally should lead men in prayer. Reason being, because I've said this many a times, because that we know none of those men are going to be concentrating on their prayer. And then I suppose women will say, well, that's tough, like you guys should, we're not responsible for your actions. It's true, not responsible, but at least I think let the salah be a place of worship rather than the imagination going wild. So I get the argument that women say generally, look, you shouldn't kind of like, you know, that's just men's sick minds and men should control their imagination. But I think the truth is the imagination can't be tamed, can it? Then what kind of a dumb imagination would it be if it could just be tamed? But I'm just being honest and just saying, look, this is why that I think I don't agree with women leading men in prayer, not because they are incapable, not because they are lesser than men, not because they're impure or something like that, but simply because just based on etiquette and modesty for prayer. That's all. That's all. And if that comes across sexist, so be it. You know, well, what do you want me to do? I mean, if it comes across sexist, I would say, look, just chill. Why do you want to be an imam anyway, for God's sake? Who wants to be an imam? Let's face it. So, right. So, people, click like, click share. I'm not seeing that. I'm not feeling people sharing the controversy this week. Don't play it safe, people. Don't play it safe. Live with no regrets. That's what I say. Feminists are going to go mad. Speaking of which, I watched that. There was a Hisham Al-Maliki, ahlan wa sahlan. Those of you just tuning in, click like, click share. Layla has asked about donating organs as Muslims. I'll come back to that. I actually took out for that the text. I thought I'll quote it from here, but I'll come back to that. Like and share, share and like, whatever the hell you want, people. I give you freedom. This is how it should be. I am a llama. Okay. Right, I really need to go work out at a boot camp, but I'm enjoying this too much. Well, if you're enjoying it, then carry on enjoying it, God damn it. So this is, so I watched this TV series, this episode. It was sent to me by a few people called Women, Islam and I. Or I think Women, Islam and Me. Something like that. It had that girl from Muslims Like Us, Mahreen, starring in it. So she's going around and she's going to speak about marriage and what it means to be a Muslim woman. Now, I'm going to be honest, a few people sent it to me, said, oh, Mufti, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? I did think to myself first, I don't know if I want to watch this, because sometimes I don't like watching, you know, you get the fascist feminists and they just kind of bash men, just hate men, just man-hating kind of thing. And I thought, and I didn't know what this was at the time. I didn't watch it, so I thought, is it okay to say God damn it? God damn yeah, it is. Mahreen Beg, that's her name, Mahreen Beg, who starred in that show from last year, or the year before, called Muslims Like Us. So, but to be fair, once I watched it, I was actually very glad I watched it. So, it is, because why was I glad? Because first of all, it wasn't really, to be fair, it wasn't that kind of feminism, that kind of fascist feminazis. It wasn't like that. It wasn't kind of man-hating and stuff like this, although some things in there do. And I think it's interesting because, you know, when you watch something, it, like, as a human being, like, I'm speaking about myself, people, I can find myself, how is it permissible to say God's name in vain? Hamza Ali, wrong religion, mate. We're Muslims today. That's Christianity. Do not say the Lord's name in vain. On Sunday, we're Christians. That was yesterday. Today's Monday. We're Muslims today. That's a Christian thing. No such thing in Islam. Do not say the Lord's name in vain. What do you mean, don't say the Lord's name? I can say the Lord's name all I want. That's, it was the Jewish thing in essence. They weren't allowed to even say Yahweh. They weren't even allowed to say his name. And then it became, okay, you can say his name for important things, but not in vain. So you've obviously got very influenced by TV. You carried it across and said it so sincerely and with so much conviction that at hearing it, I thought, Allah. And then I thought, oh, did I say Allah? Oh no, Ya Allah. Oh, Ya Allah. Oh, Ya Allah. No. So anyway, coming back to this show, Takbir. Nope, don't say it. Takbir. No. Oh. It might be in vain. Don't say it, people. So the thing is, but on the bright side, at least all those terrorists, you'll give them something to think about. So they won't say the Lord's name. It's got Akbar. People go, oh, it's that bloody Akbar again. He's doing all of this. Right, so it's amazing, isn't it? So, yeah, so coming to this. So I watched this. What I was going to say is, it's interesting because I can find myself, you see, I can find myself being judgmental sometimes. Look at that. Look. So sometimes you can hear some things people are saying, and you can end up maybe being a bit judgmental. And then I have to kind of like slap myself in the face. Look in the mirror and think, what the hell? How on earth are you being judgmental? And so I think it's a good wake-up call to kind of realize that, whoa, you know, so I really appreciated watching it. It was interesting. It was to do with marriages and culture and I think the whole Pakistani or Asian culture and she was mixing with some black Muslim girls, and they've got their culture which is very independent, and Islam for them was very positive, and for her it had a lot of culture, and then she's going on some dates to get married. And yeah, so it was interesting overall anyway. And they speak about the verses, the feminist, you know, those kind of verses that people pick up on in the Quran, that why can about the hitting. And first of all, it is not permissible to hit, and I've answered that in depth in previous questions, so you can watch that there. I do think, yes, somebody, Junaid saying she was confused. I do think I do think she was confused on many things, but I suppose maybe most people are confused. Myself, everybody can just include themselves in that. But can Muslims date? Munazza Ali is trying to get me to answer that and then kind of like fall head first into a scandal of but I've answered before that yes, people can actually, if you want to call it date, or if they want to get married, they can go out in public places. I do believe that's permissible, and I've answered that before. So, but yeah, so this whole thing of the hitting verses, or men can marry multiple women and stuff like this, and these themes kind of came up in the discussion. But yeah, it was interesting to see the kind of struggle people are going through, I guess, and it's difficult. I don't know if it's difficult, I think. But the question, can a Muslim woman live on her own from an Islamic perspective? So if a Muslim woman wanted to live on her own, does Islam say she can't? No, Islam has no issue. It doesn't say either way. Islam isn't about, if a woman was to live on her own, from an Islamic perspective, that's not haram or anything. That's just her choice. Obviously, culture would dictate a lot of things. And somebody asked me, how would you differentiate between culture and Islam? It becomes difficult because a lot of people are, you know, they're so into the culture, it's become blurry. So I think that was something about the show. The other thing was, there was an Imam saying things like, so she's sitting at this event in London, I think, and there's some Imam. I don't know what ethnicity he was. I think he may have been a Somali sheikh. But he was saying about, oh, women shouldn't turn down their husbands for sex and stuff like this. And, you know, this kind of stuff. First of all, I think it's a, you know, when people pick up on this kind of stuff, I think it's, they're not being kind of fair in, I mean, I don't know that Imam's views in general life, and I've never heard of that Imam, but I'm just going with what I heard on the clip. I think they have to be fair in terms of the language, the level of English that person has. Because sometimes when you're not proficient in a language, you don't have kind of like very fluent usage of it, you can come off sounding a bit kind of, you can come off sounding a bit obviously wrong in certain things. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that this topic in the hadith, right, this is just religious rhetoric. Where the Prophet, you see, you have to remember that in the time of the Prophet, people spoke in religious rhetoric all the time. Just because we don't do it today, it sounds weird. But it doesn't mean it was weird in the time of the Prophet. 1400 years ago, that was the way people spoke. Like, oh, may, even when they cursed with religious rhetoric, you know, and damnation and the curses of God and things like this. So it's important to understand that. Okay. Now, when the Prophet was saying this, he was speaking about people who weaponize. Weaponize. But they they withhold sex as a kind of tool to kind of frustrate the other partner, to get back at them. And this is the context in which the Prophet said this. Now, I think you have to be fair that this so to kind of take something and to kind of misrepresent it, and obviously you're going to emphasize on the religious rhetoric of it, that, oh, but that would be the same even if it was the husband, that he would be cursed. And this was not about always, like, oh, you got to always be having sex. It wasn't about that. It was about the fact that if you are misusing certain things just to be kind of abusive, to kind of hurt the other person. And you have to remember, right, you have to remember that right, okay, you have to remember something, that a marriage, a nikah, is a kind of, it is a sexual relationship. Not kind of, it is an intimate relationship, a close relationship built upon an understanding of intimacy, of bonding, of sexuality. Like, you can't, it's absurd. Like, you read some of these comments, like people say, I mean, I think I quoted them before. I read this comments of this person, but I mean, saying that this comment I read before once, somebody saying that you look at your wife as like it's disgusting how you look at her as a sexual object. And I think I find that comment very absurd. I find it very kind of, it's a paradigm shift that this age is going into. That what is wrong with that as well? That seeing somebody sexually, obviously you're in a relationship with them, which is a sexual relationship. Why should you not see them sexually? It doesn't mean you only ever see them sexually, but you see that as well. What is wrong with that? And I think these kind of things, we're living in a day and age where I think these things are becoming vilified, and people are kind of demonizing this thing, that men, they can't say anything, they can't express any. And I'll be honest, I think, this is my understanding with a lot of people that I see, people reach out to me, things I read on social media, I think it's led to a culture where men are actually very intimidated of being in relationships with women, as in proper long-term relationships. I think they're just like, because it's too volatile, like you don't know I think a lot of, from what I read and from what I see, and when people reach out to me with certain things, this is the kind of feel that I get, that people are too scared almost. Like, a lot of men think like, what the hell? Like, I'm serious. There was an incident that I heard that, I mean, this was actually an actual incident. Somebody reached out to me that a person married somebody, and this is like, they're in a marriage, fresh in a marriage, liking each other, everything sensible, very educated, both people, and they've obviously been intimate, they've had sex, and in the morning, now this is actually was related to me as an incident, in the morning they had sex again, and later in the day the wife said to the husband that, oh, you know, in the morning when you had sex, you didn't actually take my consent. And as a joke, she said this, like, to this person. This is how it was, this is how I heard this. And she said, like, oh, like, if I want, I could get you done for that. And you think, like, what? Like, wow. Like, do you see the kind of culture that is being created? And I think there's a clear distinction in recognizing and condemning abuse, which is always wrong, and between creating a very fragile world where people will just be too scared to kind of be in relationships with people, because they'll just be like, this stuff ain't worth it. Obviously, I was just hearing that comment from somebody telling me this is what happened to them. I mean, that relationship would be instantly over. I mean, that would... But I'm surprised. This is the kind of world we live in. But yeah. So, right, people, I tell you what, let's take some rapid round. Exactly, if a woman said that, it's definitely the wrong woman he married. I think 100%. But this culture that we're creating, I find it sometimes... like, whoa, like, what's going on? It's and I think we're creating a world where, you know, I read this week that the majority in Japan, the majority of people up until the age of 30, like, I was reading that a huge number of people, not the majority, I think it said a huge number of people up until their 30s percentage, hadn't had any sexual contact, which is like, what the hell is going on there? But I think the whole world is just like, I think, is this the Dajjal? Are we there? Right, I tell you what, people, let's take, you see, but on an honest note, somebody's saying, Carlos, women are not meat or a toy. Yeah, but Carlos, I don't think people are saying that they are a toy or they are meat. But if during sex they see them like that, I mean, that's how the psyche is wired during sex. I don't think there's any harm in that, you know. There's I think, look, that's for when regular behavior, isn't it? This kind of thing of like, well, regularly, how do they interact with them as a human being, as a sophisticated this? But as Imam Malik's teacher said, what happens behind closed doors happens behind closed doors. I think people need to kind of just let that be and stop trying to remove that from it. Like trying to make everything very kind of, I don't know, like what the word is for it. Like everything has to be devoid of that carnal kind of instinct. Like it has to be just, oh, I did this in a very sophisticated manner. You know, which reminds me that there was a caliph, a Muslim caliph, Al-Maliki ibn Marwan, and a very famous caliph. In fact, one of the people that Imam Malik transmits from, prior to him becoming a caliph, and he was asked that ma atyabul jima', that what is the best kind of well, this is past the watershed anyway. So he was asked, well, what's the best kind of sexual intercourse? And he replied, I've got to warn you guys first, brace, okay. He replied, afhashu, that the most, like, I don't even know how to translate that now. He just said like the most kind of vile. And makes you think, whoa, what level was he on? So anyway, people, let's take some rapid round questions before we call this to an end. So, all right. So, let's take some... Well, I was asked a question on sci-fi as we're embracing an age where there will be created embryos, so artificial embryos. So if we're creating babies in these embryos, right, she's your wife, not your sister, because that would be really awkward. Cousin, same, cousin, wife, sister, cousin, wife, same. That would be awkward. So, right, now we're embarking upon an age of technology where there will be artificial embryos. So I was asked the question that, would this mean that the child still gets a ruh? And the answer is, of course, the child would get a ruh. The ruh is life, people. That is life. Okay. Right, so that is the ruh. Nowhere in Islam does it actually... okay, you can infer from certain things that the ruh is like something blown into. But the Quran never teaches you what the ruh actually is. But what it means is that something, in my understanding, is alive with consciousness. But then that could be argued, because people could say, well, what if you lose consciousness and so on and so forth. But, so I get the different parts of that debate, but it's not... a ruh doesn't have to be like a spirit looking like you. That's just TV. Right, so... Right, so... Right, so let's... Somebody's still going on about the... Ben's going on about the cousin, sisters, soul. The ruh, soul, same thing. Yep, same. Ruh, soul, same. Cousin, wife, same. Ruh and the soul are the same kind of thing. Okay, so it's the same thing, people. Right, so when marrying a non-Muslim woman, is it permissible to avoid her from things she did for a long time, or what will... I'm not sure what that question means, actually. I got my wife off eBay. Right, okay. Right, I'm just not going to comment on that. So these things, these artificial embryos, it's permissible. People, some rapid round questions. Click like, click share, get this out there. Let's get some rapid round. Fire away with the questions. Why do Malikis have two auras? Aura is the part that must be covered of your body. Now, the Malikis have a core aura for males or for females, which is what must be covered by necessity. And then they have what is the extended aura, which should be covered, but if it's compromised, it doesn't, it's not the kind of end of the world. It shouldn't be compromised, but if it is, it's not. So that may vary. So for men, that includes the thighs and all this kind of stuff. For women as well, the extended aura does include stuff. It depends. Once again, it depends where you then take this, because they have this conversation, the Malikis, in certain topics, like in Salah, but then they may act differently in other contexts. But in Salah, they will say things like her, and generally her, around the home, her extended aura, things like generally her limbs, arms, legs, neck, this kind of stuff, all that, the hair, all that kind of stuff they consider part of the extended aura. Why do scholars deem mortgages to be haram? Mortgages are not haram, but I've got a full answer to that. You can check it on YouTube. Is lingerie allowed? Well, Dawood, I'm not sure how good you'd look in lingerie, but... But hey, if it works for you, then, sure. But just don't turn up to a dars with it on, because that... Even I, deemed as modern as I am, I'm sorry. If you turn up to my hadith that's dressed dressed to impress, it's going to be problematic, my friend. Right, so yes, octopus is halal, that's true. All creatures in the sea are halal, including amphibians, people. That's the school of Medina, including animals which live on the land and the sea. So crocodiles, tortoises, tortoises don't, but actually I think tortoises might live around the sea as well. Crabs, lobster, you name it. Dinosaurs. Do you believe in the Mawlidun Nabi? As in, do I believe the Prophet had a birth and he was born? Of course he was born. Right, what is makruh? Makruh means something discouraged. Hippo, yep, hippo included. If you wanted to eat hippo, although people don't generally eat hippo. Sharks as well, yep. That's permissible. Gelatine, I've answered before. Gelatine, there's a difference of opinion. And according to the opinion I go with, that enough transformation has occurred that it is permissible to eat things with gelatine. Mermaids, if you want to eat a mermaid. It's interesting that people of the past actually spoke of SpongeBob, spoke of mermaids. Right, let's take some rapid round questions, people. Correct position. I've answered this before, Hamza, on Second Coming of Jesus and all that. You can check my... Right, so prawns. Yep, prawns are permissible. Absolutely. People, where are your questions? Where are your questions? View on magical sciences books. What does that mean? I'm not sure what that means. Is dog meat haram? I've answered this before. Dog meat, all predatory animals, that includes wolves, lions, tigers, dogs, hyenas, jackals, any of these things are makruh and not haram according to the school of Medina. So, should we really give the majority of wealth to our wife? What? What's Nak saying? Nak was chilling. It was great to meet up with Nak. It was awesome. Had a good kind of vampire session. Right, that's how it's got to be done. Is female cousin mahram or non-mahram? Should one observe etiquette? Yeah, I mean, she's not a mahram like that. Cool, dowry, Islam in the subconscious mind, dreams. What's the reality to this? Dreams don't have a reality. Right, dreams don't have a reality. Somebody asked, can you see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a dream? Of course you can see him in a dream. And some people asked, can you see him in reality? I've got no idea what that means. What do you mean outside a dream? If you mean a vision as a hallucination, that's only your, I don't believe that the Prophet, like you get these kind of folklore, mythological beliefs that the Prophet is everywhere and he's floating around and he's here, and this kind of like demigod kind of vision. I don't believe in that. I don't think that is Islamically an authentic position, although people have tried to make it off as an authentic position. The fact that the Prophet appears to people like he appears like in like, I don't know, like ghost-like, spirit-like reality and talks to them. That's just their imagination. It's just their imagination. These things are not real. You cannot, it's all in the mind. That's all it is. Okay. I think some of the Sufis have taken this to just unnecessary levels, really. Unnecessary levels. And these kind of things are, and in a dream, of course, you can see anything you want. It's the dreams it's your dream state at the end of the day. What is your... do you think the dead can visit us? I'd rather not, to be honest with you. Knock on the door. You got the dead. Oh, it's just the dead at the door. Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'd rather not be visited by the dead, to be... But no, of course they can't visit us. I mean, how on earth did the dead visit us? This is hardly Game of Thrones. We got the walkers or whatever they call them, right? So These things, look, these kind of things are mythology, folklore, people. That's what it is. Right, so if they do, they don't just want a small bowl of halwa. Hell no, Frankenstein. Right, people, let's take a few final rapid rounds, and we'll call this... I was asked about... this is the fatwa collected of Sheikh Ju'ayyat, okay, who was the Sheikh al-Islam. His full name, Muhammad al-Aziz al-Ju'ayyat. He was junior and a student to Ibn Ashur, the Sheikh al-Islam of his time, and the Grand Mufti of the Malikiyah. Legend who I often quote. This is his kind of one of the kind of runners-up that comes after him. He was the Grand Mufti in his time, the Sheikh al-Islam of the Malikiyah. And generally, so in his fatwa, he lived right up until, I believe, going through the 60s into maybe the 70s at most. But he has a fatwa. His fatwa have been collected on can you take the eyes and kind of transplant them into somebody else, and so body parts. And he mentions that he said that if you look at it, that there's two perspectives. He says that you can say that you keep the body parts, stay where they are, mura'atan li hurmatihi, out of sanctity of that person. Right, those of you who have just tuned in, even though it's late, you can still click like and share, people. Get this out there. So he says there's that argument of the sanctity of the human and the kind of love, and the fact that this ain't his property or the human's property. You contrast that with, he said, the maslahah of helping other people. So when you compare that, he said that you go with the fact of helping the living. That clearly outweighs. And Sheikh Ju'ayyat is one of the leading scholars throughout the Muslim world to have given this fatwa fi ibahati naql al-a'da. And then there were people after him like Sheikh Hassan Ma'mun who did the same thing, who gave the fatwa. Also, very early on, 1959, but that was after Sheikh Ju'ayyat. And there was Sheikh Jad al-Haq, Ali Jad al-Haq, the great Sheikh of Al-Azhar, who gave the same fatwa, and a few other people. But he was one of the pioneers in this whole kind of division, if you like. Right, people, I think we've kind of... let's take a few final questions and we'll wrap this up. It's helping somebody. I think it's actually, it's one of the greatest acts of charity. To be honest with you, I think it's quite scary. It's scary for the person donating. Because I kind of put myself in that kind of position, and you think it's weird because you know you're going to be dead, but you're still kind of, it freaks you out, somebody doing something like pulling your eyes out and taking your kidneys out, and I think it's scary. So that's what it is. And so hence people kind of bring up all these fatwa. Have you ever experienced the supernatural? I don't think I have. I think we've all experienced the kind of numinous things which bring us in awe, but there's always an explanation for everything. Right? Mujhe kyun nikala? Right, okay. Any final, or shall we call it, is that a wrap? You're scary. Hell yeah. That's the way to be. Right, people, I think we'll call this a wrap. If you're on social media, then do click like, follow my pages, keep up to date. You can reach out to me. I do respond to messages. I'm on Snapchat as well as Malm 2014, MALM 2014. I'm on, Twitter, although I need to check these things more often. I'm on Facebook. I've got my general page and then my public page, both as Mufti Abu Layth. You can like them, follow them, send me your questions. I do try to respond to people whenever I can. Right, somebody say, big up Oldham Glodwick. Alright, people, alright. Other than that, inshallah, we'll have the words concluding with the final words that subhanallah wa ta'ala amma yasifun, that Allah is exalted and above that which they describe him to be. Wa afdalu salati wa salam ala al-qa'il al-mamnoon, and the best of blessings and salutations upon the messenger who said, al-madinatu khayrul lahum law kanu ya'lamun, that indeed Medina is better for them if but only they knew. Inshallah, folks, take very good care of yourselves, and inshallah stay in touch, stay laughing and stay blessed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.